We're ready to get started. Today we're going over giants. And the reason I wanted to go over this subject is because, as it says in the video, most people believe when they hear about giants, they always want to talk about things that existed before the flood or thousands of years ago. And we can talk about giants of thousands of years ago. We can talk about a lot of things, but there are giants around today. And, you know, the giants are here and they have been here for a very long time. And just like this is what we need to prepare ourselves for. Everybody is coming out of the closet. The gays are not in the closet. The blacks are not hiding on the other side of the railroad track. Everybody is out. Okay. And in the next, and with disclosure, everybody's going to come out of the closet. It's going to be like a whole new world. Okay. We're going to see our little alien friends. We're going to see our little giant friends. It's just going to be different. But it's not like these things are not already here. And with all these pictures of all these super tall people, how come you never see them anywhere? Now, I admit in my lifetime, I have seen one or two of them. You know, when I went to Mexico City like 20 years ago, I was staying in this hotel in downtown Mexico in the Zona Rosa. And it was this black guy that was staying in the hotel. He must have been like 8 or 9 feet tall. Okay. And I saw another one a few years later. And, but it's very seldom that you see these people. And you just be thinking, oh, that's a freak. You know, maybe he's a basketball player, this or that. But there's thousands of these people everywhere, but they just don't, I guess they keep to themselves. I guess like midgets or things like that, or, you know, if you're kind of different, it's just like there's a family in Mexico which is covered by hair all over their body. I guess they would have a hard time just going to the mall and just walking around. So they do things, but they kind of do it quietly because they don't want to put on a freak show. And a lot of these people, I guess if you're a giant, you go to giant parties and you go to giant this and all your friends are giants. And basically, if you're a giant and you hang around giant people, then you're not a freak. But if you're a giant and you hang around people like us, we're the ones who's going to make you look like you're a freak show. So these people just basically stay out of our way. And when we do get a picture of them or whatever, we're shocked because everything in our world is built for people which is our size. Okay. And some of these people, as you saw in the video, they're just not going to fit in our world. Okay, they just can't. Okay, but their world is built for people that are their size. And what is the right size? I don't know. You know, I live on the Mexican border. You have people here that are only 4'11", 4'10", and things like that. And when I first came here, you know, right at 5 feet, when I first came here, to see adults that size and sometimes even smaller was kind of weird. Today, I don't even give it a second look. I just see this lady and she's 4'6", and the husband is tiny, she's tiny, the kids are tiny. They're all tiny. Okay. But this is what it's all about today. It's the mixing. You know, this is what some people are upset about, is that we don't live in Mayberry RFD anymore. You know, some people liked it where we lived in that world where everybody was one and the same. Everyone had the same religion. Everyone was the same race. Everyone had the same holidays. Everyone did the same things. Those days are gone. The world is a lot smaller now. And because of that, people are mixing around. People are moving around. And I'm not from the valley. I'm not from the, I've been living on the Texas border, the Texas-Mexican border for 30 years. I still don't speak Spanish. I'm all the way from Ohio. Okay. And I moved here because I wanted to write a book and do some things, and it brought me down here. People are going wherever they want to go. And maybe that's good. Okay. Because who knows? Maybe I want to live in Paris, France 10 years from now, or maybe I want to go to, Ecuador or wherever I want to go. Should I say, no, I can't go there because I need to stay in a certain geographical place or do a certain thing? And if we can't even move around in our own country or on our own planet, how are we going to be able to go beyond our planet? So we just need to get out of our old stereotypes, our old tribalisms, and say, hey, I only want people that look exactly like me, that have everything in common with me, to be around me. And if not, I'm going to throw temper tantrums and go crazy. Okay. We just need to change. And remember, they are allowing us to cross. Now, if they, so they're allowing us to cross because we're going to be one with them. And them is a capital THEM. Okay. So if we can't even handle people that eyes are a little bit slanted or skin is a little bit darker or whatever, what are we going to do when we see that reptilian living down the street from us 50 years from now? Okay. How are we going to handle that? When your girl will come home from school and say, hey, there's an exchange student from Uticuli in my class. How are we going to handle that? Okay. And she's eating alien food. Okay. You understand what I'm talking about? This is going to be really deep. It's going to be really deep. It's going to be fun. Okay. To the younger people, they're going to be able to handle it. With all changes, it's the old people that have a hard time. That's what happens with all change. If you ask these little kids today what you think about this digital age, they love it. With us, a lot of people, they have a new iPhone 11, except for, making phone calls and doing the most basic of basic requests. There's nothing they can do. Okay. They might as well just go back and get them a rotary phone. You know what I'm saying? But the kids are doing everything. They're just loving this digital age. And when we get a chance to meet people beyond our world and to start experiencing things beyond our five senses, they're going to eat this up. They're going to love it. We're going to be kicking and screaming and yelling and hollering and protesting and doing everything. Okay. This is why in the Bible, since a lot of us are Christians here, this is the problem that Moses had. This is why nobody who left Egypt was allowed to go into the promised land. All of them died in the desert. Only their kids was allowed to cross. Because they was in the desert bitching, pardon my French, for 40 years. Okay, about how great they had it in Egypt and how the Egyptians did this, how the Egyptians did that and what did, okay. But nobody made them leave. They could have stayed over there. And if we want, we've been praying for this, we're moving into the future. We've been reading about this, the future and science fiction and all this stuff and whatever. It's not fiction anymore. And this is the surprise to most people. See, we're starting to see things now that are scaring us. What we don't know is that the military is 50 to 75 years ahead of where we are. And if we can't even handle the little stuff that we got, you don't have the slightest idea what the military is doing. The military is doing a lot of things that you're seeing in the movies. Okay. The military got all kind of advanced weaponry, advanced aircraft, all this stuff. The line between fiction and science fiction is blurring very rapidly. Okay. And as we move more and more into the future, for the older people, it's going to be hard, because we're used to the old way. But we're going to have to deal with this. And we're going to have to deal with living next to people or saying things that we're not comfortable with. And maybe we're not, it's going to take some time to be living with a neighbor that's 12 foot tall. Okay. Maybe that's going to be kind of intimidating. But they're here right now. They just kind of stay in their own areas. And most people are not even aware. And if you don't believe, you say, oh, those pictures are all fake, Lynn's just running a game. You can Google it yourself. You can go anywhere and just type in the magic word, tall people. And they will show you tall people from all over the world that are 8, 9, 10 feet tall, this, that, everything, and they're everywhere. But you never see them out on the street, walking the street, because to us, they would be freaks. So they stay to themselves. But in the future, this is ending. We're going to all be together. One big pot. Okay. And we're going to share this world. So either you can accept change, or you can go kicking and screaming and whatever, but the world's going to change anyway. So this is what I want to do, and this is why last week I did a show about fairies to let you know that they really here. Okay, this show I did one about giants to let you know that they're really here. Everything that they've been talking about in these books and saying, slowly I'm going to show you all kind of stuff. But we're eating an elephant if the cat doesn't destroy everything, we're eating this elephant one bite at a time. That's how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And what I don't want to do is go too much and just throw everything at you all at one time. So my thing is every week we're introducing something that you don't know. Okay. And every week we're expanding your consciousness, we're expanding your mind. Okay. And you get to do it in your home with your sandals on. You don't have to, we don't have secret handshakes. We are not over there doing all kind of weird stuff. You don't have to let me sleep with your wife to get the secret information. We're not into all that stuff. You don't have to give me thousands of dollars. You can give me a little bit of money if you want to. But the point of it is, because all of this is free. And the other way, the secret society way, is no longer working. It worked for a long time. But today, the people with the power, the people with the knowledge, they're not willing to share it. And that leaves society is splitting into two groups. The few who know and the masses who knows nothing. Okay. This is unacceptable. The masses must be educated. The masses must know what's going on. Okay. And this is and history, as I told you, history is circular. It repeats. And the danger of only a few people knowing what's going on is exactly what happened to the Romans when Rome fell. And what happened to Rome when Rome fell? I keep telling you over and over again. When you think of the Romans, you think, oh, those were those people. They was walking around with swords. The Romans had technology. Their Colosseum is over 2,000 years old and it's still standing. There was 2 earthquakes today. A lot of our stuff in Albania is not standing anymore. All of our stuff falls over. How come the Roman stuff didn't fall over? How come there's Roman roads that are 2,000 years old and aqueducts that are 2,000 years old, they're still standing? Okay. And our stuff, if we build something that is more than 20, 30 years old, it's falling over. Okay, something's not right. And the Roman problem was only a few people knew things. And when Rome fell, Rome went from, in Jesus' day, from the average person living in apartment blocks in Rome that was 6 stories tall, that had running water, sewer system, everything like that. Rome had fountains. They had everything. Within 100 years, people was living in grass shacks, drinking from the river, shitting in the river, knowing. How did that happen? Do you know they even forgot how to make concrete for several hundred years? Did you know that? Do you know for several hundred years they thought water fountain was a fictional item? Because how can you make water shoot up in the air? So they saw paintings of water fountains, but they said that's a fictional thing. You can't make water shoot up in the air. That's fictional. But the Romans had water fountains. The Greeks had water fountains. The Egyptians had water fountains. Okay. These people, they don't care. Are we going to be in the same predicament 50, 100 years from now? Because are refusing to know anything. And we're surrounded today with all kind of technology that we don't know how to use. And when our cell phone isn't working, or our remote control to our phone doesn't work, or the TV doesn't turn on, we just throw it out and buy another one. Even when you try to get it fixed, they say, no, it's not worth fixing. Just buy another one. No one knows how this stuff works. What's going to happen when the few handful of people that know how this stuff works, something happens to them? What are we going to do? I guess we'll go back to cooking over an open fire again, right? Okay, I guess we'll go back to the old way of writing letters and sending them. You know, is that what we're going to do? So, what do this have to do with giants? The thing that this have to do with giants is there's so much stuff that is going on out of sight. The reason why the government, everybody keep things out of our sight. They don't want us to see the aliens. They don't want us to see the giants. They don't want us to know about chupacabras, Bigfoot. They don't want us to know about mermaids, anything else. They don't want us to know about anything because, I keep telling you, Thanksgiving is on Thursday. Christmas is 1 month away. We need to stay focused. When the cows are feeding, do not disturb the cattle. Okay. They don't want to disturb us. Our mind is focused on turkey and ham and things like that. They can't be disturbing us about telling us about giants and about that the earth is hollow and there's another civilization inside the earth. And plus, we talked about that, that civilization that live at the bottom of the ocean. We don't even, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff going on. It's just too scary. Just stay in your bubble. You know what I'm saying? Stay dumb and ignorant. Ignorance is bliss. I didn't think that before, but I found out the hard way. Because the more you know, the more you toss and turn a thing. And I toss and turn a lot. I don't sleep like I used to. I know too much. But I'm glad that I know. I never say, boy, I wish I was dumb and ignorant like I used to be. I used to be dumb and ignorant. Not anymore. Okay. And you can make the choice too. It's up to you. And if you want your eyes to be open, and if you want to see what's really going on in this world, okay. And if you really want to know the Bible says in the end, all things will be revealed. Everything is going on around us. They don't even try to hide it anymore. Don't even try. Because they take for granted that we're so dumb and stupid. We don't know. That's the reason why, how I got all those pictures, I got them off the internet. And I've been collecting pictures for years. Okay. Because they're not hiding it. And there's articles about, places where these people live. And there's articles about, people living in these underground structures they're building. And you just need to Google it. And if you don't want to Google it in that way, have a conversation with Alexi. That's very scary. Start asking your digital assistant questions, and she will start talking. And this is why that thing became very popular and very unpopular very fast, because it doesn't know how to play dumb. And when you have one of those digital assistants in your house, one thing is listening to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is not good. But if you ask it a question, it will give you an answer. And if you ask it, a question like, do aliens exist? You'd be surprised what that thing says. Are there life on other planets? Is the earth hollow? Start asking weird questions like that. Oh my gosh, you will unplug that thing and put it back in the box real quick. Okay, because it has the answers. But you don't want to do that. You just want to know, is it raining outside or not? What chance of rain tomorrow? Is the Cowboys playing this weekend? What time? That's the only thing you want to know. You don't want to know anything else, right? Okay. Ignorance is bliss for those who want to be blissful. If you don't want to be blissful, then you need to get informed. And I want to know, and you want to know. So what we did today, we went over the giants. And let's talk about where the giants came from. Now that I gave you the big speech, where did the giants came from? It's all in that book. You got that book in your house. You go to that place on Sunday. They supposedly talking about that book. Do they ever open that book? Well, not most of the time. Okay. It says in that book, though, in the first chapter, that when the sons of God looked down upon the earth and saw that the women of the earth was fair. Remember, El left. El, the big guy. Okay, he left. He appointed 600 watchers to watch over the earth. Okay. 200 of the 600 decided to come down. Those are called the Gigi, the known gods. Of the 600 gods, there are 200 known and 400 unknown. The 400 that didn't come down is unknown because they didn't come down. And the 200 that came down split the earth among them. And they had relations with the women. Okay. And giants was born. The old men of renown. Now, what does that mean? See, that's all that stuff is written in your book. The old men of renown is the story of the gods. Zeus, Apollo, all these gods, Aphrodite, all this stuff, that is the story. All that stuff didn't really exist. See, what they don't want to tell you is the god myths is the same story that is told all over the world. And if you read the Greek god myths, the Roman god myths, the Babylonian god myths, you can go all over the world. It's the same myth. The only thing that varies is their name. But as you know, a rose is a rose is a rose. A dog is a dog is a dog. So, how we know what God is what all over the world, because their name changed from country, from place to place, but their title stays the same. Okay. And these titles, some of these titles like the Queen of Heaven or titles like the Immaculate Conception and all this stuff goes back thousands of years. And this is why when people have encounters with certain people and they ask, like with the Virgin Mother, they keep asking you, are you the Virgin Mother? Are you Jesus' mother? She never says that. She always says, I'm the Immaculate Conception. And you can look that up and see what that means. And that same person been saying that same thing for thousands of years. Okay. What does that mean? Okay. But that's a different story for a different day. I'm just telling you that. So their titles vary. So we know, since their titles and description stays the same, we know that Apollo and Thor is the same person. We know that, Thoth and Quetzalcoatl is the same person. And we can line up the gods all over the world, and it's the same story. These are the men of renown which is talked about. This is why these legends or stories about these gods are still around today because they were the men of renown. But it says some things about them. They wasn't all doing good stuff. And even in the story of the God myths, they wasn't all doing good stuff. But in the book of Enoch and in the book of Jubilees, they was really doing some good. First, they was, God put anger among them. They was fighting. Okay. And it says something very bad, that they consumed all the food, and after they consumed all, they started to consume man. And they say some other strange things that we don't really understand completely today. That the fallen angels cut down all the trees. Okay. That's a different subject we're going to talk about the other day. Because these movies that we see and love so much are telling us things that we don't understand. Like the movie Avatar. How these creatures lived in the trees until those big, mean people came from outer space and cut down their tree. And then they lived on the surface. Okay. But if you read the pagan myths, man used to live in the trees. And the tree protected us. And that's the reason why science say we lived among the trees and our brains didn't start to grow and we didn't develop like we are until we came down from the trees. That's probably why the book of Enoch says they cut down the trees. But they're not talking about trees we know about. The earth used to have trees that was hundreds of feet tall. Okay. Hundreds. Just like in the book of Avatar. The earth was totally different. And they want us to put us to work. Everybody's always after free labor. It's not only trying to get free labor out of the Africans. That's been going back since the beginning of time. They couldn't put us to work as long as we were swinging around in the trees. So they cut them all down. And they put us to work. Okay. That's the reason we was created as a worker race. Now, these giants was doing a lot of things. They made empire. Okay. And they ruled. And that's the reason they was the ruling class for a very, very, very long time. Okay. And I guess the decision was made eventually because kingship went from the gods to the demigods, which would be the giants. And then it finally went to man. And that is what we talked about in another podcast about when they go through the king's list. You have the king's list over there in Iraq and Sumer. You have that king's list. You have the king's list from Egypt that lists every pharaoh that ever existed. The king list from Sumer lists every king that listed over there. You have a Chinese king list in China too, that lists every emperor that ever existed. These three lists all do the same. They list all the kings at the top lived for thousands of years. And then they list with the first demigod kings. And then they say who was the first human king. And if the first human king name is here, what is all these names up here? If this person is the first human king, that's very scary. You really don't want to go there. And then they mention a very strange thing, all three of these lists. They mention who was the king or the emperor or whatever the year of the Great Flood. I guess there must have been a real great flood. Okay. But I guess since these people know what happened, that there's people... See, we was told that everybody who wasn't in the ark got drowned. But the Bible says that after the sons of God came down and had relations with the women, there was giants in the land at that time and after. So if everyone drowned it, how was there giants after the flood? I guess there was more people that made it through. Okay. You get what I'm saying? And that's why I wanted to talk about these reports of giants go all over the world. And they keep finding these giant skeletons, which as soon as they find them, they have to eliminate them. And they found a lot of giant skeletons in Ohio, along the Mississippi River. And they've been talking about this, which most people, even who live in St. Louis today, don't know. But if you go to St. Louis today, it's totally flat. But scientists know. And there's even a movement to recreate one of them. The Spanish was the first one to talk about this. When they first came to the land where St. Louis is today, there was giant pyramids there. And when the first settlers came through St. Louis, there was earthen pyramids that they talk about was, 30, 40 feet tall or whatever. They destroyed all the pyramids. And there's even writings about that. And there's even newspaper articles about that in the 1800s, how they was destroying the pyramids. And when they was destroying them, how they was finding giant skeletal remains in them. But why would you destroy them? Oh, that's right, because you need farmland and you need this and that pyramid's in the way. See, we have no respect for anything. Okay. And then we just forgot about it. Or did they want us to forget about it? Okay. They found everything. But it's not only there. And the Indians still talk about something called the red-haired giants that the American Indians fought against. And there was these people, and they were smoking too much peyote. The American Indians talk about, several different Indian tribes talk about America used to be controlled by red-haired giants. And the Indians used to fight the giants. And the giants, if they caught the Indians, they would eat them. Okay. And slowly they pushed the giants back out of the land. Okay. They slowly took over. And, that's just a crazy story. That's not true. But we keep finding these skeletal remains of these big skeletons, and some of them have red hair. It's just coincidence. That's just a made-up story. We all know that, right? Okay. It's not like that really existed. And even in Europe, there's certain features that are known, that was discussed worldwide about these giants. You see, with us, we have one row of teeth on the top and one row of teeth on the bottom. The giants, this is written in books in India, written in books all over the world about these people talk about that giants had 2 rows of teeth. And giants had 6 fingers on each hand, not 5. Okay, and that's just making that up. That's just crazy talk. And then they find these skeletons that have 6 fingers. Or they find these skulls that have 2 rows of teeth. But, that's just, somebody just probably planted that in the ground. You know what I'm talking about. See, this is the problem. We don't listen. And if you got people, some of these Indians tribes in America, or you talk about in South America, they've been around for hundreds, thousands of years. And they talk about how things used to be when they first got here. And they talk about how the land changed. That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow, about climate change and how the land changed. See, we think the way things are now, the way they have always been that way. But no, times change. And the Indians say that land that is now desert, they talk about hundreds of years ago, how fertile that land used to be. And how this other land that, looks like this used to be underwater because they was there. They didn't write it down in books. Most Indian people have what is called an oral history. They pass the stories down. Okay. But they know what's going on. They know. And when we listen to their stories and we start investigating, we say, hey, those people not as crazy as we thought they were. Okay. A lot of things that they said make sense. Okay. And we're able to find and prove. And in North America, South America, all over the world, we have found things that, just like in Europe, they find these little things that look like Flintstone houses. Okay, it's two big walls going this way, and it has like a slab on top. Those, according to those, are the burial. That is how the giants in Europe buried their dead. They put one of those on top. I don't know what it meant to them back there, but underneath those, when they come across them, you find a lot of weird stuff. Okay. Amazing. But what happened to the majority of these giants? Was there a plague that wiped them all out? And if there was so many of these giants and they was everywhere, where did they go? Now that we know that they did not die in the flood, there was giants everywhere. Oh, another account. When the explorers came, the Spanish came, they talked about there was giants in certain places, especially in a lot of their logs. They talk about at the tip of South America, that entire area was ruled by giant people. That was written in several books by the Spaniards. But we know that they was probably smoking something too. See, everybody was smoking something. If you don't like what they wrote in their book, you just say, they was probably getting high on something. You know what I'm saying, don't you? Okay. Because it can't be true. You know that. Or maybe it is true. Maybe it was true. But what happened to all these giant people? We discussed this before. Is that, remember, Zeus was in charge. Zeus liked it to fool around and with mortals, and he was always making all these babies that was half god, half man, which is called demagogues, and it led to a war between the Greeks and Troy. Okay, and which started a war on earth, which started a war in heaven, and Zeus got bumped off by his son Apollo. And Apollo withdrew the gods because Apollo wanted a separation between God and man. That's when the pyramid got taken, the top pyramid got taken off. That is why if you look on the back of the dollar bill, there is a space between the top of the pyramid and the rest of the pyramid, because they want separation between God and man. And the gods all withdrew. Where did they go? They went to Hyperbole, which is the summer home of Zeus. That's the summer home of Apollo. That's where they went, which is located beyond the north wind, which is the hollow earth. They're all below our feet, which in our famous movies that we love so much, Asgard. Okay. That's where they all are. And the giants was told to withdraw. Everybody had to withdraw. And the people who was not withdraw, that's the reason Hercules, before he was granted godhood, he was given a list of people he had to bump off, because certain people wasn't invited. I guess they didn't want a lady with snake hair down there. Okay, you get one. There were some other people that they didn't like, and he was told to bump certain people off. But most of the gods withdrew. And that's the reason the American Indians talk about how the giants went into their caves. Okay. They went downstairs. That's the reason there's very few left. But there's a few that are left. If you saw that thing that was from the picture from, very disturbing picture of what the Japanese was doing before World War II. Okay, according to them, that was their secret weapon. They was working with some of these giant people. And that giant guy was not the only one that was in Japan. There were several of them. Okay. And it's easy to say, oh, that wasn't true. They wrote about this, but they got some pictures that survived the war. And I've showed 2 of them, but there's a lot of those pictures. Okay. And some of these giants still exist. You can look this up yourself. But in Afghanistan, we ran across a few of these giant creatures. And they was not very nice. Okay. We killed several of them. But several of our guys came up missing. Okay. You get what I'm saying? And several of our guys, we believe, got eaten by them. Okay. So, so some of these things are still out. Or maybe they're going back and forth. Maybe some of these giants, remember, the ones in America, they went into their caves. Maybe they know which caves go down there, and maybe that's why these things are coming back and forth. Maybe they're not staying down there. Maybe they stick their head up every now and then, right? Okay. Very scary. Okay, so we really don't know what's going on. We just know that what's supposed to happen now that we crossed over into the new age. As I told you, we have a deal with them, which is going to affect all of us. The deal is we're heading towards polar shift. And I keep talking polar shift, and a lot of people missed that meeting of a year ago when we went over polar shift. I'm going to go over it again. And polar shift is they're not, the last time the world was destroyed by water, they let everybody perish. This time they're saving our butts. But it's not for free. I keep telling you that. They're saving our butts, and after they save us, we will all live together as one. The gods, with a small g, not the big G. Okay. The giants, the aliens. It's going to be, and we're going to live in this futuristic world. And that's why these people who are supposedly coming from the future, they keep talking about the world they come from. You could never imagine it in your wildest dreams. Okay, it's like a science fiction movie, the world they live in. Okay. But it's not their world. Because they already have that world downstairs. They already have the technology. With the UFOs that's flying around, it's probably 1,000 years more advanced than anything we ever have. There's books that talk about some of the stuff that they have downstairs. Okay, we know 0.1% of what they're doing downstairs, and they want to keep it that way. But the few people that have been allowed to go down there talk about stuff, they talk about they have technology, that they have glowing walls and all kind of stuff like that, and they have so much technology that, oh my gosh, we can't even imagine. But that's our future world we're going to live in. We're going to live in that world that's going to be the science fiction marvel. But in all these science fiction worlds where the world is beautiful, if you go to Blade Runner or all these places, for the people at the top is beautiful. For the people that live at the bottom, it's not that nice. Okay, you understand? And if you live on the bottom, it doesn't make any difference if you live in America, if you live in Mexico, if you live in Lagos, Nigeria. It's hell on earth everywhere in the world if you're at the bottom. You understand what I'm saying? Hell is hell is hell. It's still hell. Okay. So, your hell is just a different hell. But at the bottom, hell is always, unfortunately, at the bottom. Why that is, I don't know why, but hell is always at the bottom. So, what we need to do is to cross into that new world, because we don't have a choice. But we definitely want to make sure we're not at the bottom. Okay. And maybe we want to live in a building that's 300 stories tall and have the penthouse on top. We probably can't afford that, but it's better than living at the bottom. Right? Like in the movie Blade Runner. in that fictional movie, in the future, everyone who live on the street is speaking a mixture of English, Spanish, and Chinese mixed together. That sounds wonderful. Can't you imagine speaking a mixture of English, Spanish, and Chinese all mixed together? Oh, this is a beautiful future. Okay. But the people at the top of the building, they ain't speaking that. Okay. You know. So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. But it's going to be a world. And how are we going to compete with these alien people that's living on our planet, and how we're going to compete with these people 12, 15 feet tall, and how we're going to compete with all these other stuff? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And you think you have it hard now, and you're complaining about these Guatemalans stealing your jobs. What you going to do when you start talking about these other people stealing your jobs? Okay. You understand? Okay. And that's what they talk about in the fictional tale Babylon 5, where the new president want to make the earth for earth only, and they want to register all the aliens because the earth got too many aliens, and the aliens are taking over. Okay, and it's making it hard for the humans to survive on the earth because there's too many aliens. Boy, what a bright future we have waiting for us. You can hardly wait. My hands are tingling already. But this is it. So, now you know that these people exist. And we have went over this, and one at a time every week I'm going to expose you to something new. So when you hear about this 5-10 years from now down the street, you will say, oh, that guy was talking about that a few years ago. I remember that he was going over that. Yeah, he was good. I thought he was kind of local, but yeah, he did go over that. I remember him talking about that. So, this is the importance of this show. So, you need to, as I always say, you need to share this show, everything, but it's our new future, our new reality. And these people are tired of hiding. They're tired of they can't walk around on the street. They can't go to the shopping mall. They can't do nothing. Because if you're 10 feet tall, 11 feet tall, you can't do nothing. You have to live in your own little bubble. You have to live in your world with your giant friends. You can't come out in public. Because the little people will be pointing at you. Mom, look. There's a freak over there. Okay. But there is no freak. And since we're on that, what we have found too, real quick, since we're talking about these real giant people, when we think of aliens, we always think of aliens our size, or sometimes they're 3-4 feet tall, but they keep finding some of these alien creatures are only a foot tall, 2 feet tall. See, there is no definition of what is the proper height. And we think, what is the proper height? Oh, around 5 feet, 6 feet. That's the proper height. Okay. But is proper height 1 foot tall, 10 feet tall, 3 feet tall? It just depends. And if you're only 12 feet tall, 2 inches, if you're only 2 feet tall and all of your friends are 2 feet tall, then it's a perfect place. But again, you can't exist in our world because you're too damn small. And if you live in a place where everybody's 10 feet, 12 feet, then you can't exist in our world because you're too damn tall. See, we want everything to be exactly like us. That is what is coming to an end. So we have skeletal remains of creatures that looks exactly like us, but they're very tiny. 1 foot, 2 feet tall. Okay. Maybe they're coming out the closet too. Okay. And maybe in that house, we're going to have some, big houses for big people, regular houses for regular people. And then you're going to have that dollhouse over there for the little short people. It's all going to be good. It's all good, right? Okay, excellent. So, this is our subject for today. It was not scary. It was only meant to open your eyes to things. And what you need to do is just watch that video 2 or 3 times, and you will see that these tall people look exactly like us. The only difference is that their legs are just very long. The rest of their body is basically the same. They just got super long legs. You know, but other than that, I guess you can have a friend who's 10 feet tall. I guess you can have them over for dinner.